So, ज़्यादा तेज तो नहीं हो रहा? ठीक है? Okay. So, anthropology optional. Why we study anthropology optional? Why do we study anthropology optional? क्यों anthropology? As a discipline, why we study anthropology? Why anthropology is important at all? Yeah. Okay, evolution, please sit. Evolution. Anybody else would like to tell? थोड़ा सेट करेंगे इसको. One of the? That is good, very good. Okay, so थोड़ा सा आवाज ठीक कर दो. Okay, so basically, we study anthropology to understand ourselves better, isn't it? And why understanding of ourselves, humans, is important, especially for UPSC. Why it is important? Because anything that we are doing, policies that we are making, the problems that we are solving, that concern whom? Us, right? So everything concerns us only. That is why we study anthropology, right? So if suppose somebody asks you, why anthropology? Why do we study ourselves? So it is because we want to solve our own problems, our own issues. What kind of issues we face? कौन से issues face करते हैं हम लोग? क्या problems face करते हैं हम humans? आज की डेट में अगर आप देखें, what are the various issues that you see in and around you that concern humanity? Any issue? Yes, social issues include discrimination on the basis of gender, caste, religion, class. That is one class of issues. Taboos, you can say superstitions kind of thing, isn't it? So we want to deal with them. On the top of it, poverty is an issue, isn't it? So we want to deal with poverty, development. In that also anthropology is important. How anthropology plays an important role in that? Because anthropology studies us in a holistic perspective. Holistic perspective means it studies us in all-round manner. That means it studies every aspect of humanity. That is why it is important for the policymakers, for the development, you can say, agencies. Okay, and what we are going to become tomorrow? IAS. So our purpose will be to solve issues, to, you can say, help people in their own day-to-day issues. So that is why anthropology becomes very, very important for bureaucracy. You study it here as an optional, that is well and good. But even after that, anthropology will be important for you people, because you have to solve the problems of the people. Either it is in the rural area, urban area, right, tribal areas, anywhere you have to solve the problems of the people. Now, how many of you know about the anthropology as an optional, that what it have in its syllabus? What we are going to cover in it? How many of you have the idea about it? No idea? Let me give you a gross idea what anthropology is, so that you can know whether it is the right choice for you. So anthropology, this word, first and foremost I will tell you a little bit about it, then I will tell you about the syllabus of the UPSC, what we are going to study in it. So it's a combination of Greek words anthropos and logos. Anthropos, that means human, and logos, that means systematic study. So in simple sense, anthropology is the systematic study of humans, right? कहाँ पे? So it is the study of humans over time and space. Right? Study of what aspect of humans? So it studies all aspects of humans. Right? What are the aspects of us? So if you take my example, I am an animal first. Then I am a social being and I have a unique capability of speaking using this language. Right? So you can say we have three main aspects, that is biological aspect, right? Socio-cultural aspect, right? And linguistic aspect. And all these aspects are studied over time and space. How? We as an animal has been evolved from non-human primates like monkeys, right? We transformed from monkeys to humans, right? So over time we have evolved. So it's a temporal study, right? Evolution, organic evolution is the temporal study. We study biological aspect over space. How? Biological aspect over space. We study different variations in humans. If you just look in around you, right? So we are different from many dimensions, right? Our face, right? Our nasal features, our, you can say, head shape, form, our height, our skin color, our hairs. There are many variations, and you have seen that there are many races also, right? There is Negroid race, there is Mongoloid race, there is Caucasoid race. So all races, that is, you can say, study of the biological aspect over the space. ठीक है, अलग-अलग जगह पे study. Similarly, you know that in early times, we humans, we used to live in simple societies, in tribal societies as hunter and gatherers, right? Nowadays, we live in urban complex societies which use Internet of Things, right? 5G technology. So that is basically the socio-cultural evolution, evolution of technology, evolution of marriage as an institution, evolution of family as an institution, right? You know that earlier, people used to live in joint family in northern India. Now, there may be some single parent families, isn't it? It's a new norm now. So how evolution of social aspect over time, that is also subject matter of anthropology. Linguistic. Yes, space, you know that there are different types of marriages, right? In our society, we normally see that marriage is monogamous. One husband and one wife, isn't it? So that is monogamous marriage. Recently, you might have come across one marriage in Gujarat. Have you read that news? Right, that Bindu, I don't remember the first name. Bindu is the second name, I think. So she married herself. Sologamy, right? There is polygamy. You might have heard this term, polygamy. This polygamy, in different societies, different type of marriage practices. So study of social aspect over space. Do you get this? Okay. So polygamy, let me give you an example. It is of two types. Polyandry, that means one wife and multiple husbands. And polygyny, that means one husband and multiple wives. Okay. Polyandry is found in many societies in India, right? Though, yes, it has come down. Polygyny, you know that it is found in many societies, right? Even in Hindu, Islam, and many tribal societies, right? The examples of polyandry, it is found among Todas of Nilgiri Hills. It is found among Nayar of Kerala, right? It is found among Khasa of Jonsar Bawar, right? Similarly, linguistic aspect, so over time, evolution of language, because our ancestors, monkeys, are not capable of the use of language the way we speak. Do they can articulate the way I'm doing it? The tone modulation or use of words in the way to influence people? No, they cannot do it, right? They at best can make some you can say cries, hoo hoo or whatever, but they cannot use. So evolution of language and linguistic diversity, right? There is a dialogue that, you know, after some miles language change in Rajasthan or somewhere, right? So how language change in just some area, right? So linguistic diversity, that is the study of space. So I can say that it is the study of all aspects of mankind over time and space in a holistic, integrated, comprehensive and comparative manner. Can I say that? So this is what anthropology is, right? This is anthropology. Anthropology is broadly divided into 4 major sub-branches, that is biological, socio-cultural, linguistic and archaeological, right? What is archaeological anthropology? It is the study over time, you can say, right? Study of past cultures about which we do not have anything in written. हमारे पास कुछ भी लिखा हुआ नहीं है उनके बारे में. We just have some artifacts, some tools, and those tools we try to understand, interpret how they might have been made, what material was used, what kind of technique was used, what could have been the purpose of those tools. So what is our purpose? We try to grasp that how our ancestors were thinking, right? What they might have been thinking while they were making those tools. So we try to reconstruct the culture of past about whom we do not have anything in written. Because history is, it starts with when? When we have written records, right? History is when we have written records. Archaeology is the study of past, mainly when we do not have any written record, right? Through, you can say, interpreting the artifacts, okay? Cultural remains that we have left behind, okay? These are the 4 major sub-branches of anthropology. And there is a 5th branch, right? See, there is one famous saying in any of the university that unless any discipline have any practical relevance, unless any discipline have any practical discipline and relevance, it will lose, you can say, its charm in the public. Because यूज ही नहीं आ रहा ना, करोगे क्या उसका? Theory पढ़ के क्या करोगे? It should be useful to solve your practical problems. That is why you are studying anything, right? So there is a 5th branch, that is applied anthropology. That means application of theories and practices and tools and approaches of anthropology to solve practical human problems that we face in our lives, right? So that is applied anthropology. Applied anthropology, you can say biological applied anthropology, social applied anthropology, linguistic applied anthropology, and archaeological applied anthropology. You may see that archaeology की क्या application हो सकती है? कोई application है archaeology की? हमारे पास हमारी बहुत सारी cultural heritage है, like Indus Valley site, right? To spread awareness about those sites in our lives, that is one application of it. Second, how we can conserve those artifacts, that is the second application, right? Third, how we can arrange those artifacts in the museums, that is the third application. So there are so many applications. In linguistic, what is the application? You know that there are many languages which are dying. है ना, बहुत सारी languages हैं जिनके speakers कम होते जा रहे हैं. So how we can conserve those languages? In social aspect, you know that there is casteism, communalism, many issues. How we can solve them? In biological, recently COVID was the issue. How we can solve that? Right? So that is the application. So these are the 5 sub-branches, you can say major sub-branches of anthropology. Now let us come to our point, that what we are going to study in our exam in UPSC. What is the entire scope of this subject, right? So Anthropology Optional is divided into 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2, right? Paper 1 is general anthropology. It is general anthropology. And paper 2 is the application of anthropology on Indian settings, right? So application of anthropology on Indian settings. Right? So general anthropology means all these 5 sub branches we are going to study here in general anthropology, right? We will study the biological aspect. In biological aspect, what we are going to study here? We are going to study evolution, biological evolution, right? We are going to study variations, right? That means races, etc. Right? Race. We are going to study here genetics. Right? Genetics, that means Mendelian laws. That is the very basic of genetics. Now, many of you feel कि genetics आ गया, तो अब तो बंद कर देना चाहिए notebook. Right? See, anthropology में आपको इतना डिटेल में नहीं लेके जाता है कि जो आपको जूलॉजी या बोटनी के पेपर में जाना होता है. The reason is, it is just a sub part here, right? And ऐसा ही नहीं है, सिर्फ बायोलॉजी नहीं है, आपको ये भी पढ़ना है, आपको ये भी पढ़ना है और आपको ये भी पढ़ना है. अगर एक ही पे फोकस यूपीएससी कर देगी तो कोई लेगा ही नहीं उस ऑप्शनल को. और वैसे भी एंथ्रोपोलॉजी को आप जानते भी नहीं थे कि कोई चीज होती है. यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पे हार्डली ये सब्जेक्ट दिखता है, कहीं पे दिखता है, कहीं पे बहुत कम जगह पे आपने यूपीएससी पे अलावा सुना होगा कि एंथ्रोपोलॉजी कुछ होता है, राइट? सो अगर इतना चीजें दे देंगे तो आप लोग लोगे ही नहीं उसको, राइट? एंड इट विल बी कर्व्ड कंप्लीटली, राइट? सो जेनेटिक्स हम पढ़ेंगे, हम एडेप्टेशन पढ़ेंगे. एडेप्टेशन का मतलब क्या है? आप लोग, अगर हम ह्यूमंस की बात करें, सो वी ह्यूमंस लिव इन हाईलैंड एरियाज, राइट? इन हिली एरियाज वी लिव इन डेजर्ट्स, we live in plains, we live in coastal regions, we live in tropical forest. So there are so many environmental stresses that we bear, right? How we are living in those areas. Many of you might have seen a G.C. Leong book. देखी आप लोगों ने? G.C. Leong, Go Cheng Leong. नहीं देखा? ज्योग्राफी की बुक है ना? उस बुक में एक फोटोग्राफ दिया हुआ है मसाई ट्राइब का, राइट? मसाई ट्राइब का. तो मसाई ट्राइब इज बेसिकली निग्रोइड स्टॉक के हैं वो, राइट? केन्या के, इस केन्या और तांजानिया रीजन में रहते हैं और दे आर वेरी लीन एंड टॉल. यू माइट हैव हर्ड अबाउट पिग्मीज, राइट? बहुत छोटा स्टेचर होता है एंड दे लिव इन द ट्रॉपिकल फॉरेस्ट ऑफ अफ्रीका. यू माइट हैव हर्ड अबाउट एस्किमोज, राइट? सो ये तो 3 मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिए. पिग्मीज आर वेरी शॉर्ट स्टेचर्ड, राइट? वेरी छोटे से, और वो होते हैं, ज्यादा हाइट भी नहीं होती है. मसाई आर वेरी लीन एंड टॉल एंड एस्किमोज आर वेरी स्टबी, थोड़ा सा स्टाउट बिल्ट होता है उनका. व्हाई दे हैव सच अ बिल्ट? द रीजन इज दे आर अडेप्टेड टू डिफरेंट एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशंस. ओके, एस्किमोज आर अडेप्टेड टू द वेरी कोल्ड क्लाइमेट. अब एस्किमो अगर इतने कोल्ड क्लाइमेट में रहते हैं, so they require fat, right? So that they can protect themselves against the very inclement weather. तो उनके यहाँ पे फैट थोड़ा सा, फिंगर्स और हैंड्स वगैरह थोड़े से फूले होंगे, एडिपोज टिश्यू ज्यादा होगा. दूसरा अगर देखोगे एस्किमोज का, their fingers they are very small, their ears very small, nose very small. जितनी भी एक्सट्रीमिटीज हैं वो छोटी होती हैं, राइट? बिकॉज छोटा होने से उनका सरफेस एरिया कम हो जाता है. सरफेस एरिया कम हो गया, दैट मीन्स दे विल लूज लेस हीट, राइट? Masai tribe on the other hand, they are very lean and they have very long fingers, right? Slender and lean. The reason is it increases the body surface area, and body surface area allow them to dissipate more and more heat, right? So how we adapt to different locations? We study nutrition, right? We study demography. We study disease that affects us, right? That includes our COVID and all these things. So that is mainly the broader dimension that we study in the biological part of anthropology, right? Then in socio-cultural part, what we study? In socio-cultural part, we study what is society. What is society? Anybody can tell me? What do you mean by society? You live in society. What is it? How we can define it? How we can define society? It's a kind of network of relationships, right? We live in society, that means we are living in a network of social relationships. So it's a web of relationships, right? Second term, we study culture. What is culture? What is culture? We say that we are cultured, yes. Way of living, somebody says, right? How society and culture are linked or they are different? Are they same or they are different? I'm writing separately, that means they are different, right? अलग है कि same है, society और culture. अलग है? They are same sides, two sides of the same coin, you can say, right? There are two sides of the same coin, right? We have culture and we live in a society, right? देखने का नजरिया है. This is the, you can say, what we are and what we possess, right? What we are members of society, and what we have is culture. So what is culture? Culture includes everything that you have learned as the member of society. What you have learned now? बचपन से लेके आज तक आपने क्या क्या सीखा, वो सब कुछ कल्चर है आपका. That means आपने हैबिट सीखी, आपने कुछ बिहेवियर्स सीखे, कुछ राइट्स और रिचुअल्स अपने पेरेंट्स से सीखे, कुछ कस्टम्स और टैबूज आपने पेरेंट्स से सीखे. एवरीथिंग इज योर कल्चर, राइट? वैल्यूज, नॉर्म्स, कस्टम्स, ट्रेडिशंस, एनीथिंग दैट यू हैव लर्नड इज पार्ट ऑफ योर कल्चर, राइट? सो विल स्टडी, society will study culture. Not just we study what these are, rather we'll study what their components are, what they are made up of, right? Whether society or culture is changing or not, if at all they are changing, what are the factors of change? So that is also we are going to study here, right? Then we are going to study what is marriage, right? What is family? What is kinship, right? What is economic organization? What is political organization? What is religion? All these components come under social anthropology, along with the research methods to study how we can study these, right? So research methods and anthropological theories, right? These are the things that we study in socio-cultural anthropology, right? What is marriage? What are the various types of marriage? Why you can say different types of marriage do exist? एक example देता हूँ आपको. You might have gone in some barat. बारात पता है? आधे सभी लोगों को पता है बारात क्या होता है, right? Mainly जो patriarchal society, patrilocal society में जो ग्रूम की फैमिली ब्राइड के घर जाती है टू टेक ब्राइड बैक, isn't it? That is what barat is. Why do we go in so many numbers to take one girl? Why do we go in so many numbers? 500 से कई बार 1000 लोग भी जाते हैं, right? That depends on many factors. Why do we go to take just one girl? Are we so afraid of just one woman? Why? Have anybody gave any thought to this? That क्यों ऐसा होता है? Very good. खाने के लिए जाते हैं, ये भी ठीक है ना? So पहले क्या होता था? In early society, there was custom of bride capture, right? And for capturing a woman, what we need? To capture a woman, you need some force, right? And that is why you might have seen that our marriage ritual also have that kind of thing, nuptial battles. Girl cries when she is leaving the home, isn't it? क्यों रोती है लड़की? अगर वो शादी तो normally हो रही है, but you know all these factors. One, so many people are going. Second, girl cry when she is leaving her paternal home. Third, after the marriage, when the girl reaches the boy's home, both have a mock battle, kind of, right? 2 sticks are given to them. There is a kind of competitions that who will find that thing in the thal or something, right? All these things, they reflect that in past there was something called bride capture, right? So basically what we will do in anthropology will give you those eyes to look at many things. Let me give you a very beautiful idea, right? Normally what we see is that our behavior, right? Whatever we do, this is our behavior. Our behavior is regulated by social institutions, right? Isn't it? Social institutions like marriage, family, religion, all these institutions, they regulate your behavior, right? What is a social institution? Social institution is a cluster of status. That means who is the father, who is the mother, who is son, who is daughter. That is status, right? And role. What is the role of husband? What is the role of father? What is the role of mother? Norms and values, right? So these social institutions, they regulate our behavior, right? Marriage regulate the behavior of the couples, right? What is allowed, right? Regulate karega na ki aap mere husband ho, aap meri wife ho. So it is your duty, it is not your duty. There are certain values and norms that guide that behavior, isn't it? Right? So social institutions regulate our behavior. Whatever you do, you are studying here, that is also regulated by your family, isn't it? आपकी family आपको पैसा दे रही है, आपको motivate कर रही है, सब कुछ इसीलिए तो आपका ये behavior that you are sitting in this class, isn't it? Then within these social institutions are found in society, right? And society have a under structure that we call social structure. Right? So what anthropologists do, anthropologists study this in order to understand these. So we'll start from your superficial behavior. What anthropologists will do, they will go to any field, any village, any tribal village or any locality, and they will look at the behavior. By looking at the behavior, they will go deep and deep and deep in order to understand what is the underlying structure, right? Why people behave in a particular manner, right? Now I will give you one more example so that you can make more sense of the things. We in India, right? That is one theoretical approach, that is not the entire truth, because there are criticisms of that approach also, right? So I'm just giving you just one idea, right? When in classes we will learn more. We know that cow is considered as sacred in India. Who says that cow is sacred? Right. How do you believe that we consider that cow is sacred, right? So people believe that cow is considered sacred because it is written in the scriptures, right? Scriptures say that cow should be revered, it should be respected, it should be worshipped, right? Now, basically, there is a scholar, there is an anthropologist, Marvin Harris. He studied this sacred cow phenomena of India, right? And he basically says that culture have three aspects. He says that culture have three aspects: infrastructure, structure, and superstructure. Infrastructure, structure, and superstructure. He says that this aspect, infrastructure, that means that is economic aspect, material aspect, right? Economy, technology, that is part of economy only, right? And reproductive power, or you can say demography, right? These make infrastructure. Structure is what kind of social organization is there. That means family, kinship, all these things come under this, right? And superstructure is your belief, your ideology. What he says, that it is the material aspect. Infrastructure determine what kind of belief you have. This cow is sacred, that is your belief. He says it is determined by the material aspect, the economic aspect. What he says that cow is sacred because even when cow is not giving milk, then also it is valuable because her dung can be useful. She can act as a labor in the farm. That is why it is revered, it is worshipped. Now you will see that, ye to hame bhi pata hai, right? The same cow, he further say, the same cow will be allowed to die if there is famine-like situation, drought-like situation, right? Change in the infrastructure, economic aspect, and change in the belief, isn't it? Change in this lead to change in this. So it affects how we have beliefs. So basically, anthropology will help us to understand our own beliefs. There is one more thing I will tell you. You may consider that you are more advanced than the tribal societies. How many of you believe that? That we are more advanced than the tribal people? You believe? Most of you believe. That is nothing, you know. Koi aisa nahi hai that I am going to judge you or anybody should judge you. It's natural that we have 5G technology, Internet of Things, right? We have, you know, अच्छी खासी पढ़ाई करके आ रहे हैं, right? Okay, so हम इतना पढ़ाई करके आए, सब कुछ करके आए, तो ऐसा थोड़ी ना कोई IIT से है, कोई डॉक्टर है, कोई लॉयर है. So how we, you know, पर्पज ही है इतना पढ़ाई करने का. अगर हमें सुपीरियर ना समझा जाए तो फिर क्या फायदा, राइट? बट लेट मी गिव यू वन एग्जांपल. 2004 tsunami struck, right? 2004 tsunami struck on Indian coast. Many people died, but not many tribals died. Do you know about that fact? Many tourists who were there on the tourist visit, they died in numbers, but not many tribals, Andaman dwellers, the tribals who don't have much of the knowledge, they died. They did not die, right? Why? Because they have better understanding of that environment. So how we can say that we are more advanced than them? Suppose we are having, you know, well-educated, well, you can say, learned people, well-trained people, and we send them to those jungles. And let the two people live in those jungles. One is the tribal and the another is our own, maybe a NSG commando, right? Who is more, you can say, adept to those jungle circumstances? That person. So knowledge is relative. Can we say that? That in that area someone is more advanced. In our society someone can be more advanced, isn't it? So we cannot judge someone from our own lens, right? Because judging is ethnocentric, right? So basically that example might say that we may have to look at our own myths that we have harbored since the birth. And busting these myths is very, very essential in anthropology. आप कल को IAS बन के जाओगे और अगर आप जज करने लगोगे ट्राइबल्स को या फिर किसी बैकवर्ड पीपल को, गांव के लोगों को, how you can develop them, right? So busting the myths is the most essential task of anthropology. Do you understand that? That is the foremost task, right? So that is another example that will help you to understand, right? So we'll study that in socio-cultural part, right? Third is linguistic. So in linguistic, we study the origin of language, how language originated, right? Origin and evolution. We study the diversity of languages, right? We will study that how we can protect and conserve languages which are dying, right? All these things are part of linguistic anthropology, right? We'll also study that how language affect culture and how culture affect language. Do you think that language affects culture or culture affects language? Culture affects language. इसका मैं example देता हूँ, right? How many of you have seen that movie प्यार का पंचनामा 2? Very good. In that movie, that girl knows so many colors that boys do not know, right? So that is the simplest example that how our cultural learning define how much you know, right? Names of the colors, that is part of the language, right? ये वैसा pink, ये वैसा pink, ये वैसा pink, right? This is red, this is bright red, dull red, or whatever that, right? That is gender differences affect the language. Second, caste difference. Higher caste people have different vocabulary than the lower caste people. One religion followers have different vocabulary than the other people, right? You can say people who are living in Arctic cold environment, they have many words connected to ice, right? Middle Eastern have many words connected to horses, right? So culture affects the language, its vocabulary, its many things, right? Do you know that language also affects culture? Right? The structure of language, there is a hypothesis that the structure of language, the language structure that I'm using, structure of language, it affects the way we think. So it affects the cognition, right? The way we think, the way we perceive anything, right? And whatever we think, we act in certain way, right? Because our thinking decides that what our actions will be, right? So it determines our behavior, isn't it? How you can say? See, there are many studies. Alexander Guerrier did a study. Right. Alexander Guerrier compared 3 children from 3 linguistic families, right? English speaking, right? Then Finnish speaking, Finland, and Jewish speaking, right? English, Finnish, and Jewish. What he found that Finnish speaking children have least gender differences, Jewish have maximum gender differences from the early childhood only, right? Then he later on, studied these languages, and he found that Jewish have more sentences, more words, more nouns, pronouns related to gender. Everything is gendered in Jewish language, right? And it is just few things that are gendered in Finnish language. That is why language affect the way they develop gender identities, right? They differentiate between genders, right? So the structure of language differentiate how we behave, right? So both way we try to understand that in linguistic aspect. We'll try to understand the linguistic classification of India also, that is part of paper 2. That is in linguistic part. In archaeology, you all know the dating methods we are going to study. We study Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Indus Valley civilization, right? जो अभी चल रहा था राखी गढ़ी वाला Aryan debate, we will also study that, right? Whether Aryans came from outside or they were indigenous, that will also study, right? So whether Aryans were outsiders or they are the indigenous, what do you think? They were outsiders. But the recent debate, we have reignited the debate because the recent find in Rakhi Gadi, a female fossil, that reignited the debate. So we cannot say with conclusion, right? It is not yet concluded that whether they were outsiders or not, because see, if you think that just 3-4 years ago, right? 3-4 years ago, the genetic studies say that Aryans were indigenous, right? Although now recent data of Y chromosome suggests no, they were outsiders. So basically the debate, we will deal with that debate in very detail, right? What are the archaeological evidences? What are the genetic evidences to support or reject whether Aryans were indigenous or not, right? So that is part of our general anthropology. These are the 4 subsections that we are going to study here, and naturally application, right? In application part, we'll study kinanthropometry. You know that sportsmen we select, so that we select sportsmen on the basis of some physical traits. If you suppose you select me for weightlifting, I'm not suitable for that sport, right? Because I may broke my back, right? The center of mass should be such that I can lift weight, right? So maybe medium or low, short statured are more suitable for weightlifting, right? You can say for boxing there is different physical requirements. So in that anthropometry, kinanthropometry, we study the sports anthropology, right? Forensic, किसने CID देखा है? Right? So CID में DNA फिंगरप्रिंटिंग करते हैं, वो सब कुछ करते हैं, वो सब चीजें भी हम इसमें एप्लीकेशन में आएंगे कि जेनेटिक्स की एप्लीकेशन पढ़ेंगे, वो वाला हम एप्लीकेशन वाले पार्ट में करेंगे, राइट? नाउ आते हैं हम पेपर 2 में क्या क्या देखेंगे. सो इन पेपर 2 we will study the application of general anthropology in Indian settings. So here we will study Indian archaeology, right? Some sites of Indian archaeology like Bhimbetka, etc. Right? Here we will study Indian fossils like Narmada Man. Here we study the growth of Indian anthropology, that means theoretical development in Indian anthropology, right? What are the various scholars who you can say contributed to the development of Indian anthropology, that we'll study there, right? So Indian development of Indian anthropology and anthropologists, right? We will study Indian demography of Indian society, demographic features, right? We will study the traditional basis of Indian society. What is traditional basis? Some things like Purusharth, Varnashrama. Have you heard of these terms? Purusharth, Varnashram, right? All these things, Rena and rebirth. Okay. We will study caste, Varna. We will study the impact of various religions on Indian society like Islam, Christianity, etc. Right? So impact of various religions. We will study then processes of socio-cultural change in Indian society. Whether, do you think that we are static? कोई change ही नहीं हो रहा है Indian society में, ऐसा तो नहीं है ना? There are changes, there are many factors, there are many processes. So processes of socio-cultural change, right? Then there is a separate topic, that is village studies, right? Study of village. Why we study village? Because 2/3 of Indian population live in villages, right? So if you understand the village, you can use the anthropological insights for village development, right? So that is in part 1 of paper 2, right? And part 2 of paper 2 is tribal India, right? So in tribal studies, what we are going to study? We are going to study the status of tribes, right? We are going to study the problems of tribes, right? We are going to study here that how you can say anthropology can be useful to solve the problems of tribes, right? We will study the impact of Panchayati Raj institutions on tribes. What is the concept of ethnicity? What is nationalism? You might have heard these terms, right? All these things are the part of the part 2 of paper 2. So that is what we are going to cover in anthropology syllabus. Now, basically that is okay, that we are going to study. How we are going to study that? That becomes very important because hai bahut sara, right? How we are going to study? So first and foremost, our study basically will be based on, first and foremost, see, our focus will be on conceptual clarity, right? Because whatever you do, conceptual clarity is very, very important. Why it is important? Let me tell you very simple example, right? Conceptual clarity and right approach, I would say. You have to, go from NextIAS to your room, you can say, right? Or you can say you are coming from your hometown to here, Delhi in Karol Bagh, right? So you must know the right map, right? You must have the idea about कि कहाँ उतरना है, कौन सी बस लेनी है, कौन सा ट्रेन लेना है, कौन सा फ्लाइट लेना है, कैसे आना है, right? So basically, first and foremost, for anything to do, to interpret the question, to understand the question, to express that, you must have the conceptual depth. Unless and until you understand that, you have the right approach, you have the right understanding of the thing, you may not be able to understand or write anything. So that is the very first thing, that conceptual clarity that we will deal in the class. The second thing is that you will have the study material. We will have 6 booklets, right? And these 6 booklets, these are prepared by me only, right? It will cover everything that you need to study. You need not to go anywhere beyond these 6 booklets, right? Everything that is there in the anthropology books, it is here available in these 6 booklets, right? Third thing, you will have synoptic notes within the class, right? That will help you to revise whatever you have covered in the class. So these 3 things are your understanding part. Fourth part is very important. Why it is important? See, you know the syllabus, you know the concept, right? You have the right approach. You have revised it through the booklet and your synoptic notes that you have taken down in the class, but you haven't practiced them, right? So the fourth thing is daily answers. So daily answer writing, right? I will give you questions based on the concept that we have covered in the class, and those questions, if you practice, so whatever you have learned, you can cement them, right? You can keep them, you can retain them for longer duration. So that is daily answer writing. These will be supplemented with model answers, class discussion, right? And naturally evaluation by me, right? And I will personally give you feedback, right? In the class itself, so that everybody know, right? But I will not, bring your morale down. My purpose would not be that, right? The purpose will be just to help you learn that what is good, right? Bad चीजें होंगी वो हम बाद में बात करेंगे क्लास के बाद, गलत क्या होगा. I will just highlight the good things of yours, right? If at all, right? So that will be the answer writing. Then any unit that we will finish, there will be unit-wise test, right? And after that, there will be a test series. I recommend strongly that test series you should write once you finish the entire syllabus, right? So although it is part of your syllabus, this course only, your foundation only, but this part we will finish by October, right? From June to October we will finish that, and this I suggest that you start from October and finish it by February. From February onwards, you focus on prelims, and after that, from 20th May or so, you can just come back, and then we will have another strategy how we can take your preparation to the next level, right? So this is the entire plan for our course. This is how we will proceed in our course, right? Now, if you have any other question, I am here to address each and every doubt of yours. Please do ask openly. Any doubt? What? After that, test series करो, लिखने की प्रैक्टिस करो, right? 20th May के बाद में, because वो तो आप 1 साल बाद की बात कर रहे हो, right? First you learn that, right? After that, देखो इतना रिवीजन हो जाएगा ना. आप देखो एक बार आपने पढ़ा अच्छे से, फर्स्ट रीडिंग, सेकंड रीडिंग, थर्ड रीडिंग, राइट? फोर्थ टेस्ट लिखने आओगे तो पढ़ के ही आओगे. मॉडल आंसर पढ़ोगे, उसी चीज को रीइंफोर्स बेसिकली सीमेंट कर रहे हो. क्लास का डिस्कशन अटेंड करोगे, उसी चीज को सीमेंट कर रहे हो. इवैल्यूएशन लोगे, उसी को सीमेंट करोगे. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. कुछ डाउट आएगा तो मैं फिर भी अवेलेबल हूंगा. कुछ रह जाता है, सपोज यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड समथिंग, you will write the unit wise test. Again you have to revise. You will again have to read model answers, discussion and evaluation, right? So this many levels, I think, if we count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11, right? And the same will be, right, for that. So itni baar aap dekhne ke baad, I don't see that you will have anything. Still, if you have, I will be available. Yes. Success rate was good in the last exam, right? And I am happy to announce that the topper of anthropology was my student, right? You may find in the Twitter, right? 307 is the highest mark. Unfortunately, that guy did not get a rank, but he is the topper of anthropology, right? And you can just check on the Twitter or somewhere, right? One guy is very famous nowadays, that is our student, Rajat, right? and you might have written my name also somewhere. Yes, please. So success rate is not at all bad. And one more thing I tell you that, some people may get a little bit, hazy about anthropology, that कहीं पे UPSC इसको कर्व ना कर दे. एक आंसर है उसका. सबसे पहली चीज है, do you know that एनवायरनमेंट के क्वेश्चंस 2010 के बाद बहुत ज्यादा आ रहे हैं. एनवायरनमेंट के क्वेश्चन बहुत ज्यादा आ रहे हैं. व्हाट इज द रीजन? बिकॉज एनवायरनमेंट सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट इज द मेन टास्क ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट एंड द वर्ल्ड कम्युनिटी. सेम वे एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यूपीएससी, फॉर द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, फॉर द ब्यूरोक्रेसी, बिकॉज सब कुछ हम आदमी के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, ह्यूमन के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, right? And anthropology is not very popular in university level. The only hope for anthropology is UPSC, right? और UPSC में कॉपी चेक करने वाला एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट ही होगा, वो कभी नहीं चाहेगा एंथ्रोपोलॉजी कभी डूबे इतना ज्यादा, right? That is the first thing. Second thing, right? क्योंकि एक ही होप है एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के पास. You did see which university offer many courses. Do you see in graduation there is anthropology in Delhi somewhere, right? बहुत कम जगह पे आपको मिलेगा. दूसरी चीज आपने देखा कि सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के लिए ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट प्रायोरिटी है. हाउ वी कैन टेक इट डाउन? द थर्ड पॉइंट इज दैट एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज द कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ नेचुरल साइंसेस एंड सोशल साइंसेस. सो इन नेचुरल साइंस स्पेशली द पार्ट ऑफ बायोलॉजी मार्क्स नहीं कट सकते, राइट? इन आर्कियोलॉजी ऑल्सो मार्क्स नहीं कटेंगे, ठीक है? सब्जेक्टिविटी जो सोशल वाले पार्ट में है ना, स्टिल वहां पे भी डिफाइंड है. तीसरी चीज, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी का सिलेबस बहुत छोटा है इफ यू कंपेयर, राइट? ऑल्दो द सिलेबस इज वेरी वास्ट, बट यूपीएससी हैव स्ट्रक्चर्ड एंड मेक इट वेरी शॉर्ट, ठीक है? तो इतना बड़ा सिलेबस नहीं है, तो इतना इसका नहीं करेगा. अगर आपने ठीक से इसको फॉलो किया, जो हमारी स्ट्रेटेजी रहेगी, रिलीजियसली फॉलो किया, आई कैन अश्योर यू 300+, राइट? दिस ईयर स्कोर वाज नॉट दैट हाई, राइट? किसी भी ऑप्शनल का नहीं था. Still 307 is not a bad score. It's a very good score instead, I would say. Right? तो अगर आपकी सही अप्रोच है तो you will definitely get the success. और कोई क्वेश्चन किसी का? The class is waiting outside. Yeah. हाँ. Yes. Let me take this question. That how anthropology is overlapping GS, right? So GS1. Right? It has history, society and geography, right? History वाला part, pre-history वाला part, Aryan वाला part, IVC वाला part, Indus Valley Civilization वाला part, directly आपको पता होगा. You have studied it in much detail than anybody else. Society, everything we study about society only, right? Social issues, you can write much better answers than anybody else, right? Some portion in human geography may be asked here, but not directly, I cannot commit that, right? But in these portions, you can see directly. In GS2, right? GS2 is governance, polity, right? So rural governance, tribal governance, developmental issues, that we will study in anthropology only in paper 2, right? Paper 3, internal security, right? Tribals and internal security, naturally it will be there, right? Economic development of tribals, यहाँ पे भी रहेगा थोड़ा बहुत issue. Right? Fourth, GS4. What I just now said, that you cannot judge people. Right? There is a philosophy in anthropology that is known as cultural relativism. That will help you to understand many case studies, and it will also help you to understand that how you can write better. You will study that what is social institution, what are values, what are norms. Right? So you can see in much better detail. Most importantly, that will help you to look at the syllabus of GS from a holistic perspective, because anthropology एक subject ही नहीं है. It is basically an approach also, right? Anthropological approach you will gain, and that approach help you to look at anything from a holistic perspective, right? You can grasp anything from multiple dimensions. Okay, so that you can say holistic approach will help you. Where this holistic approach will help you in essay paper, right? Because what is essay? Piece of writing that is coherent, consistent about one topic. आप इधर उधर वेवर नहीं कर रहे हो, but आपकी सारी dimension cover कर रहे हो, right? So वो वहाँ पे help करेगा. That is how anthropology is suitable for this also, right? Yeah. average score vary year per year, right? If the selection is at 950, then the score will be varying, right? If it is at 900, then it is varying, right? But easily I can say that in a normal day, you can score anyhow 300 to 320 plus, right? If you do hard work, you can score it very well, right? For this year, I'm saying 300. Any day, if the score, average score will go up, naturally you can get 320 plus, right? People have scored 360 plus also. That depends, right? That depends on many factors, your hard work, right? The way you answer. Now, चलो एक और चीज कैसे हम marks को बढ़ाएंगे, right? What are the key factors, how you can get better score? So you can take my formula, right? Your answers should be simple, right? Your answer should be holistic, and your answer should be relevant. These three key essentials are, if they are in your answer, in any paper, GS or Anthro, you will get better score. How? Simple. That means your English is simple, right? The way, the language that you use is simple. The second thing, you can simplify your answer by including headings into it, graphics into it, flowcharts into it, diagrams into it, right? Holistic, that means you cover all aspects what are being asked in that question, right? And relevance, that means you add case studies and examples about those various aspects that you are addressing, right? This will make you relevant, right? Because it is not just an academic exercise. We are writing UPSC examination where we are going to become bureaucrats. We are not here to just become, you can say, research scholars or someone, right? So these three things, if are there in your paper, you can definitely score very good. Okay? So this is, you can say, strategy that I would recommend. I will try to see that how you can improve your answer writing and all, right? So this is it for today. Any other question, we can meet outside. I think the class is waiting, right? If you have any other broader dimension, I can take it. Please do ask. Anyone? बाहर मिल सकते हैं हम, ठीक है? Thank you. All the best.